Anyone hear me? Can't hear you.
We got you, John. Just
Here we go.
about one more minute. Okay, the meeting's live. I'm going to turn it over to Joe in 1 second.
Lester, you can call the meeting to order.
Yes, I'd like to call the Ordinance Committee meeting of May 7th to order. And before we get started, and this is for the record, I'd like to say that Nancy Bowden, Carol Graham, and Mike Higgins are here as residents only. They will not participate in any discussions. They will be able to ask questions and make comments after we go through the different ordinance amendments. And with that, did everybody receive the meetings from March 5th? Yes, I'd like to call
Yes.
the
Yes.
7th to order. And
Yes.
before we get started, and this is for the record, I'd like to say that Nancy Bowden, Carol Graham, and Mike Higgins are
Going to be getting some feedback.
Your mic's off, Les. There you go.
yeah, we got a little feedback there. Everything okay now? Ready to go?
Sound good.
All right. I just lost everybody's picture.
You ain't missing nothing.
All right, let's go. Even if I can't see it, let's go with can I get a motion to accept the meetings from last March 5th meeting?
Yeah, I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Carries. Okay, I guess from now on, we can turn the meeting over for old business to Beth, and you want to carry on from there, Beth, or?
Her mic's not, Beth, your mic's not on.
Mike, it's not on.
Oh, I thought, okay. Never mind. Hi, guys. How are you? Nice to see
How you
everybody.
doing, Beth?
Okay, first on the agenda is 1252, which is pretty much the enforcement and administration section for the zoning code. Currently states that the BCO and the CEO, code enforcement officer, and building code officials are the only two that are authorized to enforce the zoning ordinance, which is a problem. So we are adding that the zoning officer is also authorized to enforce those provisions. So it's really more of an administrative matter. I did circulate, it's a long section. So I just highlighted in red every place where we're adding it, but your ordinance itself is pretty brief and we're just attaching and incorporating by reference. So that has been submitted to the county and township planning commissions for their approval, and it's been advertised, and it's slated to be added to the agenda for the commissioners meeting this month. So I know we talked about this last time.
Mhm. Yep. Yep, yep.
Wasn't sure if there was any further discussions, but since it is on the agenda for action, okay. Moving to chapter 1278, outdoor storage. So this for the LI district only, and there's two sections. 07. Currently 1278.05 currently says that a fence
We're getting feedback when you can't hear you, Beth.
or a wall should not exceed 6 feet, which is just,
She can't hear us.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, but
You're
you're
having
just
some network problems, Beth.
Oh, sorry. So 1278.05 talks about the height of fences, when previously it was only 6 feet. So if there was nothing could really exceed 6 feet. We really went in the LI district to be able to cover what's going on in there. So we upped that to
We're having
8,
we're having technical problems.
which was sort of a reasonable judge of that height. The 12.7 with me.
It's hard to hear her.
Maybe I should move to let me try moving to another part of the house. So I'll keep talking. Okay, hold on. All right, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Oh shit, what's going on here? All right. Hold on. Okay, so the this is not all right. I'm really sorry. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Okay. So the height of piles. So we talked about the enforceability of what we currently have on the books, and we then researched the what the what the national standard is, and that's where Stephen came up with we looked at the International Fire Code, since one of the big areas in the LI district, there's mulch. So we wanted to see what the IFC uses in terms of regulations. You guys get a tour of my house now. What the IFC regulations talk about for what's, a safety hazard. They came up with the, I don't have it in front of me right now because I'm walking and talking. Their limit was 5 feet, actually higher than what we've suggested, because we really didn't want it that high. So the recommendation, which I think is either 20 or 25 feet, is 5 feet lower than what the IFC regulates. So we thought that this was a good balance of making something that's enforceable as a reasonable exercise of the governmental function, while at the same time recognizing the safety implications associated with the storage of those mulch piles. Keep in mind, this is also something that has to be enforced uniformly. So it's not just for mulch, it's for everything else that would be stored in the LI district. Can you hear me? Oh, good. Okay.
Yes. You want to see if there's any questions or comments on the first two, or
Sure.
anybody have anything on the first two discussions?
No, we've been talking about this for a while. There's really nothing new to add.
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
sure, go right ahead.
Where did the, where did this come from? So where did this request for the change originate from?
Well, actually, I think it was you and Mr. Steele. We were talking about the enforceability of those heights of piles. And Stephen and I went and we looked at it and we saw it was on our books, because I think during the meeting we had talked about how it really needs to be a reasonable enforcement, that we can't go and go after these, the mulch works and these other companies and say, you can't exceed, I forget what is it currently on the books. I think Stephen needs to be unmuted. Okay.
It's 6 feet. So this came about, sir, during the meeting we had in December about, that was brought to our attention about piles. And when we went to look back at it, like we said during that meeting, we would look into it to try and enforce a standard of 6 feet in an industrial park or a limited industry zoning district I'd have to go to Mulchworks, Mulch Express, Carney Tree, and have them keep the same standard as I would if I were to enforce it against Mariani Excavating. So that's where we started to look where the reasonable national standard is, and went to the fire code, because we haven't adopted that as a whole, but there's great standards in it, which the state UCC has adopted, and so has the some other jurisdictions, but it's a good national standard. So that's how this came about. Because
Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm good.
So in order to enforce something, so let's say we go after Mulchworks, just to say my hypothetical, say our ordinance says it's 6 feet. You can't store your mulch piles in excess of 6 feet. He can challenge that against the township, bring a suit saying that this is an abuse of your police powers because we're a functioning business in a properly zoned area. Why 6 feet? Where did you come up with this? It needs to be a reasonable level. So then we turn around and we say, listen, as a governmental authority, we're entitled to protect our residents. We want to keep this reasonable, and this is where we got the standard from. No place has 6 feet. So that's when we went and said, okay, well, what would be reasonable? So we did scale it back. So this way, if anyone pushes back, we can say, listen, we're entitled to protect our residents. We're entitled to exercise this power. But we're being reasonable. We're being realistic with what we're expecting.
Okay. And then one other question regarding the fence.
Yes.
So you guys are familiar with the situation that we have.
Yes.
I don't, maybe you can explain to me how that business that borders my property would be in compliance with an 8-foot fence. Like, what would they have to provide? What would they have to build to have that fence? Like, because they don't, to mine, or do you believe that they have that set up now?
Are you speaking about a fence and closing the property?
The 127805 outdoor storage, provided the area used for such storage is located in the yard and is completely screened from adjoining properties by a solid fence or wall not less than 8 feet in height.
I don't think that provision is going to be changed. So, I mean, if you're asking about if that's an enforceable part of our ordinance, I believe that is. This isn't just an ordinance meeting where what we're doing is trying to come up with a more reasonable standard for the piles. But I mean, something like that, it seems reasonable. And if, you know, something like that has to be enforced, that can be. But at this time, we're just looking at, you know, this is the ordinance meeting. So we weren't concentrating on that. I don't believe that has been changed in the ordinance.
It also doesn't
Actually,
apply.
it has. It's literally one of the items that's changing. It's changing from whatever it was, foot fence to an 8-foot fence.
It won't apply to existing businesses. We can't enforce something that whatever's on the books now applies to future construction and future activity. We can't retroactively drive around town and tell everybody they need to up their fences.
Okay.
Okay.
Any more questions or comments? All right, I guess we can move on to
Okay.
chapter 28 to 1280.3.
Yes. So we've talked about this quite a bit. This one, we're not changing I don't think so. Let me just double check. Any of the sound levels. What we are doing is breaking down the time period by which it's allowed. If you look at what's currently on the book, it's really a little confusing as to the hours of operation for daytime versus evening time. So the proposed language changes is 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. And then the permitted sound levels are reflected on this. I did, and I may have to, hold on a second, run upstairs to get my pad of paper. But I did take a moment and I went and I checked Ridley, Marple, and Haverford, all first-class townships that have similar industrial districts, because I wanted to get an idea of whether our levels were comparable with what other levels are. Which they are. Actually, ours is a little bit more specific in terms of starting and ending. Some of them are virtually impossible to understand what they're talking about. But that's really what the goal was, to make this clear when the hours of, let's call it hours of operation, in order to assist in future enforcement. And this way, if, say, hypothetically, somebody is making a racket at 6 a.m. or 6:15 a.m., you can call the police. Police can go out, they can create an incident report. Incident report goes to Stephen. Stephen can then file a citation. Questions, comments?
Any questions?
I'm a little confused about something. You mentioned Stephen filing a citation for a noise violation. That's a police issue, though.
Well, the level is under the zoning code. So it's a civil matter. It's not under the crimes code for the police. The problem is if it's after hours, we have Stephen doesn't work 24 hours a day. So we have no way of knowing. So if the police go out there and they hear this grinding going on during a time period that they're not allowed to be grinding, I mean, that's a gimme. So if it's, you're not allowed to be operating under the hours of operation aren't allowed to be before 7 a.m.
Okay, so the take home is Stephen has to work 24 hours a day.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, hold on, because that's not how it reads.
Okay.
They can basically do whatever they want as long as they're under the allowable limit between those hours.
Right. If it's 55 or less, then they are. You're right.
Well, in this instance, it's 60, right?
Well, I'm talking about the 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. timeframe when the police would be called. But yeah, I mean, if what you're saying is from 60. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So then after, but during the day, then it would be anything 60 or below would be permitted.
Right. But you can't issue a citation because we don't have any official noise monitoring equipment to be able to prove that they were over that number. So you could call and something could be written, but it probably won't be because we as residents don't have official sound monitoring equipment to be able to prove that it was over a certain level.
I would say that if a police officer's called out to a scene and there's, obscene amount of noise, that's within the report, that's evidence there that you might be able to use. I mean, a judge would have to decide that the merits of the case are, in their liking, but I think that, it's not, you can, if there's a lawnmower being started at 6 a.m., you can hear that. I think, like I said, a police officer's report would attest to that. So.
Yeah, but we're not talking about a lawnmower, right? And we've been down this road before. And the fact of the matter is, unless we have professional operating equipment that we can prove that the decibels are over a certain amount, then there's nothing that we can do about it.
Well, I believe in the past that's been in the case where it's during the day and not, but I'm, overnight or in the morning, if there's, levels that are, that's when you call the police if we're not around to do that.
Right, but it's the same scenario, right? Because all you've done here is you've said from industrial from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. it's 70 decibels, and from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. it's 60 decibels. So whether we call during the day or whether we call about something that's happening at night, the fact remains we don't have any way to prove that whatever that noise is, regardless of the time, is above that level.
Well, that's why we undertook the expense to have it tested with professional grade equipment.
Right. Yeah, we got it. Yeah, we've been down that road.
I know, you're right.
Yeah. And we're not going to rehash that, but I'm saying on a regular basis, like there's no, like you're saying we could call somebody, but that's not going to, nothing's going to happen from that because the burden of proof is on us to say, yes, they were above a certain level.
I thought we had addressed, Beth, the last meeting or something that we were talking about, maybe purchasing a couple of these noise, picking this up to professional stuff, giving it to each police officer. I thought that was a discussion that we wanted to bring to the board.
There was.
Yeah, I thought so. So I think that would make that enforceable probably, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. It would help.
I'm good.
Yeah, my hypothetical was really the after hours thing. I mean, that's but that's, I get Mr. Stewart, your issue is sure, after hours, it's a gimme, but when it's during the day and it's still making your teeth shake, what are you supposed to do then?
No, my argument, I'm kind of past that because I realize there's nothing we can do about that. My argument is it doesn't matter what time of day.
Oh my God.
It doesn't matter because you have to, whether I prove it during the day or whether I prove it out other hours, there's still a limit for either of those hours. And the burden of proof is on us, whether it's at 5 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, to prove that whatever noise we hear is above whatever level is appropriate for that period of time. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yes and no. I mean, you're talking about your situation. These ordinances apply township wide. So, in those situations, the township can hire an expert to go out and test those situations as well in order to figure out what's going on. But then hopefully, we'll be able to get some of our own equipment and that'll make life a little easier.
That would be great.
Yeah, I agree.
Joe, is there any more questions from the public or any emails? Phone calls?
Les, I have something I'd like to say.
Okay, Carol, go ahead.
I had brought up before, like on Sundays, I mean, why do we have to say that they can start at 7 a.m. on a Sunday? I don't really see why they would have to start that early, or why that wouldn't be enforceable to have them start a little later. And I've brought that up before. Is that a possibility?
Beth, is it?
I think so.
Okay.
I think
Because,
so.
I mean, we're talking Sunday. I don't know how early, how late it could be enforced. But I had mentioned before, 9 o'clock. You know, can we stop them from working 24 hours on a Sunday, 9 to 7 or something like that? I mean, this is something that, you know, people that live there, they can't even enjoy a Sunday morning. So this is all, you know, we're trying to do to make it good for the residents so that at least they have a little bit of peace and quiet, you know, on the weekend. But, you know, I had suggested this before, and, you know, I would hope that maybe we could do that. If we could, and it's enforceable, you know, I would like to see, you know, some kind of change there.
What do you think about 2 p.m.?
I think that's good.
Okay. But I see Mr. Stewart's point. It's his, like, what difference does it make? You know, it's so whether it's 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. on a Sunday. But,
Yeah.
you know, if they're fired up and grinding and making a racket at 11 a.m. on a Sunday, it's worth a call to the police. Gary's going to love me by the end of this meeting. It's worth a call to the police, have them come out, write up an incident report, and then we'll see what we can do with it.
I can tell you what we do. We would respond, use common sense. If it's disturbing to the neighborhood, we would ask them to knock it off, do a report, and forward it up. But as far as being able to tell the decibels, you're right. We have nothing that can, you know, just common sense.
Right.
But if there was a piece of equipment, you guys could use that. Right.
That's probably getting the training. See if I guess Beth would have to look into that. See if you have to be certified on this equipment, or, you know, or just anybody can use it. I don't know. For court, of course. Yeah, I'm sure maybe a judge would want somebody certified on this particular
Probably.
machine.
Any
Okay.
more comments?
Lester,
Carol?
Mike, I have a concern. It's Mike. I have a real concern with, I know you didn't specifically say this, but I'm going to voice it. I have a concern with lowering decibels and restricting the noise on a Saturday or Sunday weekend, because to me, this applies to a specific 2 or 3 residents in an area, and it will impact the whole township. The township is about to hopefully approve the Springbrook Trade Center, and to approve this is going to put restrictions on a 488,000 square foot complex where you're going to be doing business on the weekend. Again, we don't know at this point what kind of businesses are going to be there because it's a spec building, not a building to suit. But if it's going to impact that area or any other areas, then I have a serious concern with it, because today we're concerned with one particular area and not the whole township, because it doesn't affect it would affect the whole township. And in fact, we're inhibiting commerce.
We can take that under advisement too, Mike.
Right.
Any other questions or comments on the noise ordinance discussion? Joe, anybody from the public?
Nobody from the public, Lester.
Okay, I guess, anything else on the noise ordinance?
Nope, I think we're good, Les.
All right, move on to other business. We'll go around, take a shot. Gary, you got anything, or?
No, the police department's been fairly quiet during this pandemic.
Pandemic. All right.
Epidemic.
Steven? You have anything, or?
I do not.
All right, thank you. Fred?
Nah, I'm good, Les.
I'm back now. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, okay. John?
No, Les, I'm good. Thank you.
All right.
Did you?
Beth, anything? Lost you.
Who did you say? I'm sorry, you didn't say me, did you?
Yeah.
No, I said Beth.
Beth.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry about that.
I forget the question. Oh, do you have anything else?
No, the only update I wanted to give was the codification. I did send off, and Carol and I sent off everything that they needed. So it's with them, and hopefully they're going to give us back the last, I guess, final version to give our blessing on. So hopefully by this summer, you'll be able to vote on, I guess we'll have to send it off to the county for review, but we should be able to finalize that by the fall.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
Hey, last 1 minute. I don't know if Beth heard what Mike was saying about the noise ordinance. I think she said she got up for something. I don't know. Beth, did you hear what Mike said?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
Mike, you want to address that again,
Yeah,
maybe?
I'll go over it again. Beth, what I said was, I don't think we're talking about lowering decibels, but I'd have a serious concern or serious problem with changing the ordinance to weekends because it appears to me that, and I've been around through the whole time this problem, it's been talked about, and I thought we had put it to bed. But if we are to restrict weekend operations or Sunday operations, this would have to apply to the whole township. And it appears to me that we're doing this to satisfy some issues in a small area of the township. And to put in restrictions on the weekend, you would now impact places like the Springbrook Trade Center, assuming it gets approved. We'd be inhibiting commerce on the weekends because those kind of facilities work on weekends. You know, it's no difference between a Thursday and a Saturday or Sunday in those kind of operations. And I feel we would be restricting them significantly and inhibiting commerce. So I have a real concern for doing that.
Well, we aren't prohibiting business. We're prohibiting loud business. So it's just a matter of what they're doing and whether that level is going to kick up above that threshold. So basically what I'm doing is just scaling down what's normally permitted during the day. They can't.
You're saying they can't do it.
Start on a Sunday until 2
o'clock though. You're saying.
But they what?
Hey, Mike, maybe she didn't hear what Carol said too about what she was talking about.
Well, then Carol can explain back to her then.
I don't know if she did or
You
not.
heard me, right, Beth?
At 2 o'clock.
Oh yeah, 2 o'clock. And so basically it's just,
Oh, okay.
it's just a volume judging that we're doing and what's permitted. So business can still go forward. It's just the loud businesses can't start until, or fire up until 2 p.m.
You're still restricting business there because they can't use certain decibels until 2 o'clock. They're not going to wait till 2 o'clock to start working. This is a 24/7 operation in most of those facilities, and you're going to restrict what they can do.
On a Sunday morning, maybe.
No.
I mean, yeah.
Well, what are they going to be doing in this new trade center?
We don't know yet because there's no tenants yet, but it's a spec building. It's not built to suit for anybody. So we don't know who's going to come in there at this point.
Was it going to be outside operations or inside operations?
They're inside operations, but there may be tractor trailers coming in and out.
So I can assure you that a tractor trailer starting up and moving in and out of a location will fall under every decibel level that's currently or proposed in this ordinance.
Well, that's debatable, sir, because these vehicles have these backup safety devices and so forth. And that's been a concern all along. And we have assured the residents that some residents are as close as you may be on McLaughlin, right? And so I'm not going to have this situation where they can't start working if it applies till 2 o'clock on a Sunday. And if they're unloading trucks, there may be some noise. If there are trucks delivered, we don't know yet. It's a build. They will come.
Hey, Mike.
A very standard thing in the commercial real estate business today.
Remember, I checked before about the decibels on these backup alarms on these tractor trailers, and they're over 120 decibels. Most of them run 120 decibels on the backup things. So that's just a little pinpoint there. I don't know if anybody knew that.
Look,
Those backup noises wouldn't apply under that ordinance as well, because it's not a sustained noise.
Yeah, you're right.
well,
Right?
if it's a sustained noise is more frequently than every 15 seconds, I believe.
Yeah.
And a lawnmower, by the way, violates the
Noise
That's-
ordinance. Yeah, that's over 80 decibels if I remember right. The
Yeah.
lawnmower. Somebody's got a call.
It's here. I'm ignoring it.
Ah.
It's a house phone.
So what do you want me to, I guess, when we go back to just the committee, you guys need to tell me what you would like me to do.
Yeah, I'll do that. I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Yep, sounds good.
So Les, what do you and John and, is it Nancy?
No,
Now,
it's-
Fred,
Oh, Fred. Sorry, Fred.
That's okay, man.
So who, I get so confused. What do you guys want me to do?
Maybe we got to bring it to the board. I don't know.
Well, and you know what, you can think about it because it's not on the agenda for this month. I still have to send it to the planning commissions.
Okay.
So we can talk about it again at workshop if you want.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
all right.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm having trouble trying to thread the needle here. I mean, Mike has some valid points. But how do we protect the residents while protecting commerce at the same? I mean, we're trying to find a middle ground here.
Right, yeah, and we have to figure out where the middle ground is. Yep.
Maybe we got to do that at workshop. That's probably a good idea. I think.
We maybe we ought to look into getting a couple decibel meters too,
Yeah, I agree.
for code and for one for the police department.
Police department.
You know, we can and then we can find out if you do have to, well, I'm sure to go to court, you have to be certified.
Yeah. But see, I have one on my phone and it's pretty accurate.
You know,
And it calibrates.
one of the biggest complaints I get from my residents is regarding noise. So you guys know my feelings. I'd like to see the police and Steven certified on that. Just you know, if you can just tell people, listen, we measured it. It's only like 60 decibels. It's not as bad as you think. Or yeah, indeed, it is higher. Then we can just go. But for right now, our hands are kind of tied.
Right, yeah, we can't prove how high or low it really is. We can't prove anything.
Yeah, you're right. I agree.
Well, I invite you all to have your next meeting on my deck outside.
There you go. Sounds good.
I'll provide beverages.
Now we're talking. That it, Les?
Let me see, Joe, anyone else from the public?
No, there is not, Lester.
Okay, is no more questions or comments from anybody on? No? Can I have a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion.
Okay, we're adjourned.
All righty.
Thank you.
All righty.
I'll see you in
Thanks,
person
Les.
sometime.
Nice job, Les. Thank you.
Yeah.
See
Great.
ya.
Yeah,
See ya.
See everybody.
bye.
I got another meeting at 7, so I'm good with Nancy.
So do I.
That's right. You're there with us, right? On the health board, Les?
Yes.
Yeah. Isn't this fun? All righty.
All right,
Catch
I'm
you guys
out.
later. I'm out.